So having good posture is something that's obviously quite important and in our modern society is very lacking due to namely our sedentary lifestyles and how much we are behind desks, behind cars, driving. We're constantly in this flexed position, causing a lot of rounded shoulders and what you could call a forward head posture, otherwise known as tech neck or nerd neck. And there's a lot of issues that happens when, especially around your shoulder complex, when you get into these sort of rounded shoulder, forward neck postures, it causes issues in a variety of ways, namely with breathing, when you're collapsing in the front, that's collapsing your diaphragm, you're not able to expand your belly and get a full deep breath, causes issue with your spinal cord when you have vertebrae that are out of alignment pressing on your spinal cord. That's less energy, less electricity being able to flow down through your body. Also, it causes problems with blood flow to the brain because when you have a forward neck posture, your suboccipital muscles right here behind your skull, they're constantly flexed and tense, not allowing blood to get up into your brain. That's just a few issues. There's many, many more. Also, there's an emotional component as well. If you have bad posture, you're not going to feel as good about yourself. When you feel better about yourself, more confident, you're going to hold your head up higher. So physical issues and emotional, mental issues all have to do with posture. Your mind and your body are connected in very deep ways, deeper ways than many people think about. So in this video, we're going to go to the whiteboard and I'll show you exactly what happens with the musculature around your shoulder complex when you have bad posture. And we'll talk about different stretches to do to fix that rounded shoulder and fix that forward head posture. And I'm going to show you one exercise in particular that I'm a big fan of to help balance all of that upper body posture. So let's go. So when it comes to the shoulder region, there's what's known as the upper cross syndrome. That's just a fancy name describing the postural distortions or the muscular imbalances that go on around the neck and the shoulders. We could also talk about the lower cross syndrome, all the imbalances that go on around the hip, but that's a video for another time. We're focusing on the shoulders here. So the reason why it's called the upper cross is because you have specific tight muscles that occur on one path, and then you have weak muscles that occur along the other path. So let's talk about the tight cross. When we're constantly in that rounded shoulder posture with our arms flexed, driving a car, working at a desk or a computer, whatever the case, right? We have our chest muscles, our pectoralis muscles that get very tight, and we have the upper traps, also suboccipitals, muscles basically behind the neck and of the upper shoulders that get really, really tight. This is our tight cross. Tight. Now let's do the ones that get weak. The muscles that get very weak because they're constantly stretched. These ones are tight because they're constantly flexed. So the ones that get very weak include your the muscles between your shoulder blades, basically your lower traps and your rhomboids. And then these get weak. And then also your deep cervical flexors. Deep cervical muscles. So these are muscles right in here in front of your neck. They get very, very weak because again, forward head posture, these are constantly stretched. Your trap muscles, a lot of people constantly in a fear state as well, hiking their shoulders. So traps get very tight, pecs get very tight, deep cervical flexors get weak, muscles in between those shoulder blades get very weak. So due to constantly tight and weak muscles, this can cause your joints to get out of balance, out of their axis of rotation. It just causes a lot of issues like I described earlier, from blood flow to breathing, to vertebrae, spinal issues, to joint pain, all sorts of problems, right? So knowing this, what do you want to do with your tight muscles? You want to do some manual manipulation. You can massage them to get them stretched out. You can also do your static stretches as well. So there's a lot of stretches you can do with your chest, in a corner, in a doorway, working those pec muscles. Also stretch your trap muscles in different ways as well. That'll help relieve the tension in all those chronically tight muscles. With the weak muscles, you want to work those. So, this is a big problem in like bodybuilding culture. You got guys that want the big chest, so they constantly do press, 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 and then they get this, they look like kind of gorillas walking around with these rounded shoulders because their pecs are so overdeveloped, out of balance with their back. Now, with the weak muscles, you want to work those. So, there's a variety of different ways to work the deep cervical flexors. But what I'm going to show you here is an exercise to really help strengthen those muscles between your shoulder blades in your mid back. It's a boring exercise. You're actually not moving. It's a static exercise. But tell you what, if you do this consistently, like once or twice a week for a few minutes, you can definitely work to balance that shoulder complex and get yourself a lot better posture and feel better in the long run. So let's go do that exercise. So with this, basically what you're doing is laying face down and putting your arms out to the sides, but it's not quite that simple. There's a lot of intricacies with this to make sure you're doing it correctly. So we go face down, plant our feet into the ground, and then bring our arms out to the side. Now starting at the neck, we want to maintain neutral spine around the neck. So tuck that chin, arms out to the side. And what I want you to do is rotate your thumbs to the ceiling. We're trying to undo that flexion, that internal rotation with external rotation at the shoulders and then at the shoulder blades. One cue you often hear from personal trainers is they tell you to pinch your shoulder blades together when they're training you through exercises. I don't necessarily like that cue because I don't think it's complete. What I like to tell people is to imagine you're trying to tuck your shoulder blades into your back pocket. And the reason I say that is because when we have our shoulder blades pinched together, we also want to depress them. You see that? So typically, if you're just telling people to pinch your shoulder blades, they have their traps still pretty tight and they hike their shoulders up. So keep that chin tucked, rotate our thumbs to the ceiling, and then imagine you're trying to tuck those shoulder blades into your back pocket. And then also keep those glutes flexed, keep that pelvis in a neutral position. We don't want to arch our low back and cause ourselves more back pain. So feet in the ground, ass flexed, chin tucked, rotate those thumbs to the ceiling, and then shoulder blades in the back pocket. And then you just hold that. You hold that for as long as you can. Tell you what, if you've never done this before, do that for 30 seconds, like 3 or 4 times. You will feel it behind your, in between your shoulder blades in your back tomorrow because these muscles, they're constantly stretched and they do not work that much. So start out for 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I like to do this exercise maybe once a week, once every other week. I'll do either a corrective exercise segment before a workout as part of a warm-up, or I'll do a whole workout that is focused on corrective exercises. So sometimes what I like to do is I'll do that prone cobra. I'll shoot for like 45 seconds or a minute, and then I go right into a plank. And then when I'm done with that, prone cobra, and then I work for 1 minute on each, 1 minute plank, 1 minute prone cobra. And that combo there is really, really good for your posture, really good for your core, really good to help balance all the stability and undo those awkward postural distortions around the shoulder. So that is the prone cobra. I'm a fan of that exercise. I do it a lot. It's helped me to undo a lot of the bad posture I got from playing way too many video games when I was young. So there you go. That is upper cross syndrome and working to undo that with one simple exercise. And there's many exercises you can do to help undo the postural distortions around the shoulders. Again, a lot of stretching of those tight muscles we were talking about on the whiteboard. You want to work those weak muscles and just make sure that you don't have a forward head posture. Because one thing I didn't talk about during that whiteboard sesh was that if you have a forward head posture or some tech neck, every inch your ear tracks forward, away from your shoulders, away from that line you're supposed to be on, that's an extra about 10 to 12 pounds of stress you're putting on your neck muscles and your cervical spine. So what I'm talking about is Everything's supposed to be in a line, shoulder to ear, yet every inch our ear tracks forward with a bad forward head posture. That's a lot of weight that your cervical spine and your neck muscles could be dealing with all day long. So to undo that, do these exercises and stretches to get yourself back into that good posture, that neutral, natural position. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe. See you in the next video.